Hello, you're probably here from my Instagram or TikTok series, but if not, welcome. I'm starting a whole series about how to make different dresses using Joann's one seam dress. Now their fabric is sold as smocked, but it's actually shirred, so we're going to fix that before we get started. So I'm going to be using all of Joann's pre-shirred fabric. They have a bunch of cute prints right now for spring, which I think is great. I know they've had these since like the 1970s, but I do love how easy they are. So they're really beginner friendly, and I'm going to show you all the easy ways to make your own versions. So it won't be one seam, it's going to be two seams plus a hem, and I'm going to show you later on how to add a slit to the maxi style. But I wanted to do a little introduction of what to expect. I'm going to be showing you various types of dresses. I will be sharing a full shirring tutorial later on in the series, so you can actually shirr your own items as well. So I do want to start off with the easiest, which is dresses, so mini maxi dresses, and then we're going to go into the sleeve styles and strap styles. I will also share different techniques using a serger and a sewing machine, and then sewing machine only versions for those who don't have a serger. It's not a requirement, but it is helpful, and using a serger will speed up a lot of the process of making these dresses and items. So I'm starting off with the strapless one seam dress. Really, it's going to be two seams. We're going to add hidden pockets to it. It's going to be the strapless version, which is the most popular, and then we're going to build on that with sleeve styles. So I have a bunch of the really pretty floral prints from Joann. They look like this. So one side of it, like the top part, is shirred, which is nice because that cuts down on sewing time. So this is a really easy sewing project, especially for those who are beginners with sewing. And now they come in different lengths, so just make sure you check the end of the bolt for the length and also the fabric content and the care instructions. They all kind of have different instructions because some are cotton and some are rayon. So just keep an eye on that and just make sure that you're either like hand washing them, or if you are going to pre-wash them in the machine, use like a cool delicate cycle, tumble dry low. You should be able to find these right now. They're super popular for spring. They have a bunch of floral prints like this one available right now in the stores. I use their app all the time, so make sure you use their coupons, and they are on sale right now. If you can't find any in your local store, then I would recommend ordering through their app and going on their website to order some. You probably only need about 2 yards. Just make sure you wrap it around your body to make sure you have enough, plus like an extra yard or two depending on what kind of sleeves or straps you want. I think it's a great sustainable sewing project as well because you're using so much of the fabric to make the actual garment. This dress will work best if your bust and your hips are pretty similar in measurements. If you have fuller hips or you're more top heavy, you might want to wait until I do my full shirring tutorial instead of using the pre-shirred fabric. For all my dress tutorials using this pre-shirred fabric, I'm going to be using my hidden pocket pattern. I have them for $1. They're available on my website right now. It's a digital pattern, really easy to use. I'm going to show you how to sew them into these dresses. I'm going to show you both the serger and sewing machine methods of how to add these as well. In my next part, I'm going to show you how to measure yourself and to make sure you have the right length. We're going to start with a mini dress and then a maxi. So if you're ready to make your own shirred dresses using Joann's pre-shirred fabric, keep watching. Grab a tape measure. The easiest way to measure yourself is by wrapping it around your full bust. Get the hair out of the way. So grab a tape measure, measure around your full bust. Mine's about 43. Your upper bust is about 40. Now, if you don't have a tape measure handy, it's okay. You can actually go right to the fabric store or just use the wrap method. Just take the fabric, grab one side, wrap it around. And for this, you don't need it to be that tight on your body because we're actually going to tear away some of the fabric on both sides to straighten the grain. That way you're making sure that your side seams are both straight before we start sewing and constructing the dress together. And when I actually bought the fabric, the Joann associate that cut this for me actually did the tearaway method. So I'm hoping all of them are using this method in store when they are cutting the fabric for you. That way you're making sure that you're getting the most accurate cut and that you already have one side already straightened for you. So you're going to wrap the dress around your body. Make sure it's just kind of hugging your full bust area comfortably. And it's okay if it's a little loose. The fact that this is really stretchy is going to be good for us because you don't want the dress to be loose. You want it to be nice and snug after we're done making it. All right, so this looks like a pretty good fit right now. So wherever the side is, you're going to see where that is, see where that's comfortable for you, and grab a little clip, like these little plastic clips I've been using. So that's where we're going to do our cut, and then I'm going to show you how to straighten the grain by cutting all the way down. And then right when you get a little below the shirred row, like the last shirred row, we're going to tear apart the fabric, and this is the quickest way you can straighten the grain. So the easiest way to straighten the grain is try to lay the shirred part as straight as possible. And you want to make sure that's kind of lined up near like a good inch marker so it's easier for you to cut. Take scissors, cut straight down, get about an inch below the last shirred row. You're going to take both sides and you're going to tear. Don't be scared, it's a woven. This is the easiest way to straighten the grain. All right, you're going to pull all the loose thread. Now you have a nice straight edge for when we do the sewing and we put the side seams together. This way you're going to make sure that your skirt part that isn't shirred is nice and even and straight and parallel from each side. All right, and as you can see, the other side was already straightened by the Joann cutting associate. I'm going to take this panel that I just cut and then we're going to cut that in half. And I actually got 2 yards of this, so I actually have enough for another dress. So I'll probably use this for the maxi version. So this is going to be the mini, and we're going to have enough. I'm going to use the extra length for sleeves for the maxi version, or maybe straps. We'll see how much I have left over after I cut everything down. So you take the panel of fabric that you just straightened the grain for, fold that in half, make sure the sides match up. We'll just put a little clip right there so you know exactly where you want to cut. And then repeat the same step where you're going to cut down as straight as possible. And then straighten the grain of the side seam. Just go ahead. It's a very satisfying sound. And now you should have 2 pretty even pieces for the front and back panels. So that's going to be one front and then the back. And as you can see, they're pretty even. So next what we're going to do is mark where we're going to put the pockets. Now I like to put the pockets at about 1 inch beneath the last shirred row. So you're going to match up the top shirred panel and match up the bottom row of the shirred elastic. And I like to cut at about 1 inch. And we're using 1/2 inch seam allowances, so just make sure that the little trim is less than 1/2 inch. So it should look like that on both sides. Do it to both the panels. Same thing here. Make sure you cut through both sides, and you don't want to cut any longer than the seam allowance, so I like to do at least like a 1/4 inch, somewhere around there. And that's going to be where we're going to place the hidden pocket when we're ready. So next we want to figure out what length we want to trim this off, and obviously the length is going to be different for everybody, so the best thing about this is that there's no pattern. You can just cut it based on the length that you want. Now for me, I'm only 5'2", and I have a very short torso, so I can go a little shorter for my mini length. But on you, just hold up the panel and just kind of hold it up to where it probably would sit above your full bust. I have a lot of extra fabric because I'm short. All right, so you're gonna hold it up. The easiest way to kind of measure where your mini should be is just put your hand down to your side, and usually around like your palm or fingertips is a good spot. So you're gonna take the fabric and just kind of clip wherever it kind of hits your hand. And if you have a mirror nearby, even better. You can check the length that way, but mid-thigh or just wherever your hand lands, fingertips. You're going to want to add about 1 inch or 2 also, because your hem is going to be a little crooked, and to straighten it out you do want a little extra fabric. It's always going to have a little extra than not enough. That way you're not going to be too short. like shorter than you wanted it to be. So, all right, so this looks pretty good for me. Again, it's up to you. If you want to go fingertip length, totally fine. For me, I like to go a little shorter. But I think I'll go down like another inch. And again, from that length, you're going to add an inch or two. So, okay. And I'll show you how to do both the hemming with the serger and the sewing machine. All right, so once you're happy with the length, keep the clip there, and you're going to use that as your cutting guide. So wherever this is, we're going to add an inch or two for the hem. So now you want to line up where you want the dress to be cut for your mini length. And you're going to fold each panel in half. Make sure everything is lined up. This is where these clips come in handy, because then it keeps the pieces nice and flat together. All right, excuse me, Pugsley. Come on, off. Got my little helper here. All right, so match up the sides. And you will do this to both front and back pieces of the dress. And then you're going to clip where the hem's going to be, or actually where you're cutting it for the mini length. Okay, so it should look something like this. Line up the center fold against a straight line, because then you can make sure that you have a nice even cut. And remember that the unshirred part, like this part here, is just this, not shirred. So this should equal this width. It's just this is gathered by shirred elastic. All right, so we're gonna line everything up here, and then you're gonna see where the dress stops at. Okay, so we're looking at about 22 inches here. Okay. So then you want to straighten everything out. Get a clear ruler. Remember that we're adding an inch, so you're going to go 23 for me. And again, you're going to cut it at the length that you need to for your mini. Add an inch. Cut straight ahead. You're going to save this excess fabric for sleeves or straps and pockets. Set that aside. Now repeat the same step with the other back piece. Take all the clips off. And now you have your front and back pieces of the dress ready. Just double check that the length is pretty close. And it is almost spot on. So that's what we're going for, people. So you do want to make sure that this is where you have a very close, nearly identical length, because we're going to straighten it out when we do the hemming, but you want to make sure that you at least have most of the length matching up perfectly, as close together as possible at this step. As I mentioned before, we're adding hidden pockets to all of our dresses, and I actually have a dollar hidden pocket pattern that looks like this. It's a digital pattern that's available on my site right now. You can see the link down in the description box. This is pretty universal. You can shorten the length if you need to, but it'll fit pretty much any garment that you need to add hidden pockets to. And now I have the seam allowance set at 5/8, but for this dress, I'm going to show you how easy it is to alter to fit the 1/2 inch seam allowance. So basically you're going to take the straight edge, and what you want to do, and I'll show you how to measure it later, but I'll measure in a second. You're basically going to straighten off where the edge of the pocket would be, since this is 5/8 of the seam allowance. I've used this ruler for so long, it's starting to fade, but it's okay. So once you've marked off all the 5/8 from the outer edge, you're going to connect all the dots. So now you straighten the pocket edge, and now you're going to add 1/2 inch. And this way you're going to have the correct seam allowance for this project. Okay, and then trim. Well, you're going to trim it off, but connect the lines. You're going to trim off the excess. And just get it as close as possible. It doesn't have to be perfect, but you get the idea. So that's how it's going to look after you trim off the excess. So now the seam allowance is going to be 1/2 inch, and that's going to fit all of our dress seam allowances that we're working on. And you want to make sure that when you do print these out that you print it at 100%, and then after you're done you can test it on this 2" by 2" printing guide and make sure that both sides match up to 2 inches, and that's how you'll know this is printed at the correct scale. And you can keep this and alter it for what you need it for. You can cut the length off right here. So next we're going to be cutting the hidden pocket pieces out of the scrap fabric. Alright, so the fabric is super wrinkly. So make sure both pieces are as flat as possible for both layers before you cut the pattern out. And you want to cut 2 sets of these. And if you want to learn how to make these pattern weights, I have this pattern on my website as well, and tutorials on my Instagram and TikTok, and here on YouTube too. And hang on to any larger scraps like this. You're going to want them for test stitching and just to have as fabric scraps. Alright, so now we have both pockets cut out. Should look like that. So to finish the rest of the dress, I'm going to share both a serger and sewing machine combo method, and then also a sewing machine only method. I'll have separate tutorials added to my YouTube channel for these, but for now you can actually go to my TikTok and Instagram. I have 2 separate tutorials for these hidden pockets, one for wovens, one for knits, so you can see how to actually sew these hidden pockets on for different materials. Now that you have the pockets ready, we're going to make sure we have all of our pieces. So now we have the front piece, the back piece, both pockets, and remember this is going to be the strapless version, so we're not going to have straps on this yet. So this is going to be the most basic and closest to the original Joann one-seam dress that they advertised for this fabric. Okay, so it was driving me crazy. So you're going to use a 5/8 inch seam allowance and just serge off and finish off all the pocket edges. So now that you've serged the pockets, it should look like this. And now we're going to pin them or clip them to each dress panel. Make sure that you line up each pocket right side to right side, meaning the right side of the pocket to the right side of the dress panel. You're going to know because obviously there's thread on one side, which is the right side, and then elastic on the underside. And also if there's a print, you'll be able to see which side is right and wrong easily. Go ahead and take the top of the pocket, and where you made that little inch snip, go ahead and line up the pocket and then pin or clip them here. Make sure they're nice and flat and smooth because you want the pockets to match up from the front and back panels. So it should look like this when you're done clipping or pinning the pattern piece to the dress, like that. And now when you do hem the dress and the pocket does show on the outside, on the right side, we can just trim off like an inch or two from the bottom of the pattern. It's really easy, it's not a big deal at all. Once you clip both sides, you're just going to serge 1/2 inch all the way down. And that'll be the quick serger method. So serging, you're going to serge all the way down. Sewing machine, you're going to do the same thing, just sewing 1/2 inch seam allowance here. But again, I'll show you that in a later part. So let's clip the opposite side pocket. Again, make sure it's the right side to right side. Find the little notch that you made at the 1 inch mark. And go ahead and clip that. Now you're going to be sewing this kind of upside down, like this. So make sure you line it up from the underside, nice and flat. Okay. So it's going to look like this. And you're going to serge or sew down this side, and you want to make sure that the pattern, the pocket pattern piece, is laying nice and flat underneath when you're serging, since you can't really see it from the other side. So just keep that in mind when you're doing the opposite side pocket. Okay, so now we're going to go ahead and serge both sides with 1/2 inch seam allowance to attach the pockets to the dress panel. And you're going to do this for both the front and the back pieces. Next, you're going to take both the front and back panels and match the right sides together and clip along the side seam on the outer edge. Take your time with this step because you want to make sure that everything is nice and flat when you're clipping them together. And now you're ready to sew along with a 1/2 inch seam allowance. Make sure that you back stitch at the top and then go ahead and sew a straight seam down the entire side seam. Make sure to pivot at the top of the hidden pocket, sew around the outer edge, go around the curve slowly, and then pivot again towards the bottom of the pocket and continue sewing down the side seam. If you want a more professional finish, simply take a tapestry needle, tuck in the loose serger tails back into the serge seam. This is a great way to hide serger tails, and it just makes the overall appearance look much neater. Now this is the best time to check to make sure that your pocket isn't going to peek out from under your dress hem. And it looks like it's pretty close, but let's make sure that the hem is nice and straight. So match up your side seams. Oh, it looks pretty close. Okay. Mine actually isn't too crooked, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to serge a 1/4 inch off of the hem, and then I'm going to fold it under and then just do a top stitching on top of the serge seam. If you have a sewing machine, you're obviously going to do a 1/4 inch fold and then a double fold for an inch total, and then you're going to do a top stitch. And you'd want to press, but again, I'll show you in the sewing machine only version how to do the hem with just a sewing machine. And do the best you can to serge to match up to where you started serging at the hem. Now, just like before, you can go ahead and tuck the serger tail back into the hem serger seam. Now, if you want, you can fold it under another 1/2 inch and then sew a straight stitch over, but I think the easiest way is just to fold under that serge seam and then add a top stitch to it to create the final hem. Alright, so what do we think? It is really cute. And again, I am 5'2". I did end up trimming the pockets down a couple inches, so totally up to you. Again, I have a very short torso, so mini on me is going to be very short for most of you that have like regular length torsos or even long torsos. I like micro mini if I go short. So yeah, I think it looks really cute. And again, you can make any adjustments that you need to. I think this is a very easy dress to make, especially because it has pockets, makes it even better. So in the next video, I'm going to share how to do the sewing machine only version of this, and then I'm going to show you how to do the maxi dress version, and that's going to have a little side slit in the side seam. And I have enough material left over, I think, to do a top. We'll see, but I'll have a different print for the next couple tutorials. I love the florals that Joann has right now for spring. These are the ones that I'll be using in the next few videos. I wanted a theme for all of my videos, for the YouTube videos at least. I wanted very green, spring green as a theme, as you can see. So, hope you like this. And comment below with any questions, but I am in love with how this turned out. I have the natural linen version on my TikTok and Instagram, but yeah, I can't wait to wear these. I'm actually going to make black versions, the black cotton pre-shirred fabric. They're going to be the ones that I keep, and I'll be selling most of these as samples once I'm done with this entire series. So let me know if you have any questions. I am excited to share this whole series here on YouTube. They're going to be much longer and slower. So if you want the quick version, you can go on my TikTok or Instagram. I'll be sharing most of them there. My parts 1 through 6 are on there right now, and then I have a bunch of different other topics to cover in this whole series. So yes, kid sizes are coming up. I've had a lot of requests for like mommy and me matching sets. I'm saving the strawberry print fabric for that one. It's hard to find right now. I've been trying to look for them. Locally, they're sold out at most of the stores. I'm going to try to get a couple more yards so I can make a few more pieces with it. But yes, so kid sizes are coming. We're gonna get there. And then I'm gonna share different sleeve styles like butterfly sleeves. I've had some flared sleeve options that I want to share. Really easy to make. And again, these aren't gonna have patterns from me. They're gonna be all made based on your measurements. So even better. Yeah, I hope you're excited, and you can make these with a serger or just a sewing machine. I'm excited to share all the different kinds of dresses. And then towards the end of the series, I'm going to have a whole shirring tutorial where I actually show you how to shirr things yourself. I've been getting most requests for like rompers, like flared, like swim cover pants, and skirts and jumpsuits. So we're going to get into all of that. So if you want to learn more about how to make different items for yourself using this pre-shirred fabric or actually shirring fabric yourself, follow, subscribe, like this video if you want. Appreciate your support, and I can't wait to share more of these.